Hey guys, SCS here. Today we're going to be doing a very quick video going over Ghast protocol, explain exactly what it is and some of the things that I'm going to be looking for over the next few weeks. Taking a look through, like I mentioned, just launched yesterday. There is the early whitelist, which was the first part of the pre-sale. It was actually at $10 per token. They also launched on the GMD launchpad at $12 per token. The early whitelist sold out in I believe it was 2 seconds, and the launchpad sold out in 10 seconds. So definitely way more demand out there, and I think it shows by looking at the chart today. A lot of people who even wanted to buy into this one couldn't do it on launch, and I will explain why I think that is. Here's what the tokenomics looked like at launch. There's 150,000 total GHA tokens. Public sale was 16%, which was at $12 a token. That was the one on the GMD launchpad. Private sale was at $10 a token, which was the whitelisted participants that sold out immediately. So they have circulating launch at 45,000. I actually think that's incorrect, just because when you add in the protocol owned liquidity at another 12,500 tokens, that should give you your full circulating supply. So just quick math, if you take that 57,500 times 40 per token where it's trading today, you get about 2.3 million, which is the circulating market cap. So taking a quick look at the chart, when you take a look at the actual price here, it's sitting about $40, shot way up, went clear up to about $50, and it's kind of dwindled off since. I think part of the reason is there are a ton of people in profit. They were buying at $10 and $12. But I think there is a ton of things to be extremely bullish about even from these levels, and personally I don't really have a problem buying here at 40. Diving into why exactly that is, we'll talk a little bit about what the project does. So it's a money market and it does lending and borrowing, but it's built on top of GMD. So GMD was the launchpad that we just mentioned, where that they launched off of. But the way it works is they're going to have a liquidation-free money market. So you're going to be able to deposit USD, ETH, Bitcoin, whatever it might be, into GMD, getting the GMD assets, which are built on top of GLP. So I deposit my USDC, they're depositing it into a GLP, Delta Neutral Vault, and then giving me back GMD USDC as a receipt token. So what GMD USDC does is it technically appreciates underneath because of all the gains and APRs from the GLP vaults. So these are appreciating tokens, and you're gonna be able to loop and take loans out against them. I think something incredibly important is when you are taking out those loans, you can't get liquidated. And the reason being is because if you are depositing GMD USDC, the only loan you can take is USDC. So what they're really going for is looping, and they kind of walk you through a strategy, which I found super interesting, was like their leveraged looping strategy of where you deposit GMD USDC, you borrow 80% USDC, you deposit into GMD USDC, borrow again, and walk you through that looping strategy. So you can loop it up to 20 times and you end up getting a yield of about 195% on top of those GLP vaults, which is extremely impressive. And I think that for that reason, this is going to pull a massive TVL. It's a strategy where you're not going to be able to get liquidated unless that there's some depeg event from GMD USDC to USDC. Could that happen? Yes, but there's a lot of things in place through GND as well as GMD that AMM it back into the price range it needs to, and the liquidity is pretty deep because of both of those protocols. So personally, I'm not seeing a huge risk there, but also be careful anytime playing with leverage. So something to look for, but just because of this strategy, I think that there's going to be a ton of TVL that's pulled into this. They're also going to charge standard interest rates. It'll be set 2/3 of the Delta Neutral APY. So if you're making 30%, then the interest rate will be set at 20. So that looping strategy will always at least have 10% profitability on top. Also, they will actually be incentivizing people to provide liquidity, supply, borrow based off of adding in their own token. So this is actually supposed to be GHA. They changed the token name after some feedback from the community, but this is 1600 GHA tokens and 6400 ES GHA, which is just vesting GHA. With that, you're going to be able to get some pretty awesome yields on something like GMD USDC. And it's going to attract, once again, some massive TVL. They have staked GHA to earn real yield. So this is very similar to XGrail from Camelot, where you stake like XGrail and you earn some of the swap fees, similar to XGND, where you earn some of the actual swap fees from those like Uni V3 pools. This is actually going to earn real yield based off of some of the interest rates and lending and borrowing that happens on the platform. If the TVL ends up being extremely massive, the rate that they're charging up to 80% is going to be extremely hefty, and the GHA is going to be, I would think, decently in demand. So the ways that they profit is based off of project owned liquidity, underlying GLP assets, and then 10% interest rates from the market. When we look back at the tokenomics, I touched on these briefly, but when you look, there's 57,500 that are in circulation. These platform rewards, there's 40,000 of them to be distributed over 5 years. So it's less than what? It's 8,000 a year they're going to be distributing, which is almost nothing compared to like what's already in circulation. And most of what's going to be distributed is going to be in escrowed tokens that they're going to need to vest. When you look at the partners and contributors, as well as the treasury allocations, both these are starting in ESGHA. So these are going to need to vest. So this is the circulating supply for the most part. These platform rewards will come out over time, but it's only going to be a very small amount that's going to be liquid. And all of the people who are in these ESGHA tokens are going to need to vest. So what's their vesting look like? This is a little bit different than GND and Camelot. They're going to be linearly vested over 200 days if you choose to vest. But once again, it's one of those things where a lot of people are going to be taking their liquid GHA, depositing it for escrow GHA in order to get some of those rewards. So this circulating supply is going to shrink, in my opinion, way quicker than they're going to distribute it from these platform rewards. And I think there's a massive market for this. And the last piece, on top of circulating supply dropping, 10% of all the protocol revenue is going to go to buying back GHA. So this actually should offset all of those emissions that they're going to have to supplement incentivizing lending and borrowing. This is from GMD's white paper. So this isn't Ghast, this is GMD. It's a very simple graphic showing like how their GMD assets work. You deposit USDC, ETH, Bitcoin, you receive their GMD, USDC, ETH, or Bitcoin, you hold it, and you earn the underlying APY, which is their delta neutral strategy based on top of GLP. And then you can also create these LPs like GMD, USDC, and earn APYs and trading fees. So this is gonna be, like, these should get a lot deeper, and these swap fees should get way higher as lending and borrowing starts to explode on some of these assets. So it's one of those things that this Ghast protocol, like plugging into GMD the way it does, should bootstrap and lift up the entire ecosystem of GMD and GND. So taking a look at GND as well, because this is part of the same ecosystem, I really think they should name the tokens like anything else. Like GND and GND is the most confusing thing of all time, but whatever floats their boat, I guess. If you come down though, due to, I believe, some treasury swaps and some of like the protocols working together and just holders being very similarly overlapped, because if you held XGND, you're whitelisted for GHA, but because of that, they're already getting 7% of all the votes of GND emissions, which is a pretty massive amount when you think about it. So if you look at daily, they're doing about 110 GNDs going out into circulation. So if you want to do the quick math, 110 GND per day times, I believe it's about 550 per token right now. So that's 60,000 a day times 7 days a week. So just off of that, that's $423,500 per week in GND emissions. And you take 423,500 times 0.07, because this would be the share that is actually going to the GHA USDC pool. So they're earning about 30,000 a week, or 29,645 times 52 weeks. 1.5 million a year just off of that LP. So this is pretty high just because they recently launched, but once again, I kind of expect it to go up. When you actually look at the public sale, worth mentioning that there's still about 17,500 GHA that need claimed. I'm keeping an eye on this number just from a sell pressure perspective until we start to see some of those deflationary mechanisms kick in. It's always good to like watch what's actually circulating. Last thing that's worth mentioning is their product launch. It's awaiting like their final audit. So they're collecting fees and revenue right now already, as I mentioned, from that LP. But they're going to be opening up that GHA and ESGHA staking to start earning WETH revenue in the next 24, 48 hours. I think this is a big event. It'll be a big tell of how many people are immediately deposit into GHA in order to start earning those WETH rewards. I think we'll already start to see supply go deflationary just based off of that. We'll see exactly how that works out, but the actual lending and borrowing money market product won't be live for 1 to 2 weeks. Super excited for this one, honestly. Like, really think that there's a lot of opportunity here, and one that I'm keeping my eyes on just based off of some of those tokenomics. So hope you guys enjoyed. Good luck, and leave us some feedback in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll be back soon. Thanks, guys.